Elizabeth and Daniel here from the Irish Aviation Students Association, and today we are delighted to welcome the European Aviation Wellbeing Committee, represented by co-founder Valentina Fitzpatrick. EAWC is the first organisation to take part in our new series of online interviews on COVID-19 and the impact it is having on the aviation industry. So Val, why was the EAWC established and what role does it play in the industry today?
Hi Lisa, good morning. Thank you very much for having me this morning. I'm really delighted to share my experience with you. Well, we established actually a long while ago, like the European Aviation Wellbeing Committee isn't really started now, like as the perception probably bring people to believe that we are reacting now to what's happening in this current social climate. The journey started about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was based on a personal experience. I used to fly with one of the major airlines, and I had a personal experience with mental health and depression. At that time, that was fundamental for me to understand what was lacking in the industry in terms of when someone is not well and when someone experiences depression in such a very regulated industry. That was in 2010, and I was off working for about 6 months just because I had really a breakdown in depression. And I think that brought me to an understanding that what was missing in the industry, it wasn't awareness of just depression in itself or mental health, but it was a disconnect in between the regulatory side of the industry, the management, and the people that actually make the industry. So my personal experience brought me to believe that as a collective industry, we needed to do something. So I started to put together some ideas, and from there on, that idea became a little bit more substantial and more realistic as we moved forward. And the idea was actually to introduce well-being and well-being practices, whether theoretically and practically, within our non-technical skills system and education system, which is CRM. And then a little bit by the time we built the relationship that were so much needed to continue to do the work that we're doing today with the European Aviation Wellbeing Committee. So 4 years down the line now, we have created a wonderful selection of industry leaders and professional that comes from any sort of life and background, but they are aviation professional, and they're coming from air traffic controller side, human factor, aviation psychology, pilots, cabin crew, ramp operation, engineers, so all those involved in this safety chain that actually build the industry as one of the most safety critical industry in the world, and continue to want to maintain that this safety net. And together today, we have created the committee which analyze and propose a new well-being solutions or integration of well-being solution within our technical skills. So this is basically, it's a very simple explanation, but what we're trying to do basically is to connect the industry and reducing the gap in between regulators, organization, and individuals. And these gaps has caused many issues, and one of those are a disconnect in between the understanding of how safety is playing an important role at individual level, not just our organization level.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Val. And we all know that the industry has been affected quite a lot recently, with many airlines suspending operations and many people being laid off. So what's your thoughts on how the crisis will affect the industry?
Well, you see, I'm kind of being affected as well. I'm a ramp service agent, so I work at the airport, the Dublin airport, so I've been personally affected by that. My colleague have been affected by that, and so the whole entire industry. So there's not really one answer to that. We're all going through this evolution. So I can only say one thing. This is happening on a daily basis in the industry. The industry has such a resilience in that sense. Our industry changes on a daily basis, whether it's regulatory-wise, whether it's in organizationally wise, and we're so creative. And I think sometimes we forget how resilient we are. So the changes that are happening now are just changes that have been happening for many, many years, and that there are historical changes as well. I think this is impact much more at individual level, and in my opinion, this is impact very much the reaction of people and mental health in relation to how can we deal now with everything that is going on without reacting, but with a positive action mind, whereby we see things through a realistic lens without being affected too much emotionally by this current situation. And that's very hard, and I understand that. I think that ultimately, like, people makes the industry, and we are the industry, so we can make the decision to see things in a positive way, whereby we see opportunities at the moment and where we see what we have created, and then we can also decide to see that this will create an opportunity to reconnect people at human level as well. So we've seen a great rise on technology, it's true, but people is craving for the human connection. And now everybody's talking about emotional connection, and regulator is coming on board with so many different things they would never done before. Organization want to connect with people, with the staff that they've been laid off. So there is a sense of togetherness in there, but we can't just leave that to the moment. We have to just continue to do the work that we've done so far. And I think, in my opinion, it's probably a learning curve for the industry, but the industry have always been transforming on a daily basis. So I see this just as a different phase and an historical phase that we need to just embrace.
And in relation to that, I think the question that's on everyone's mind in the industry at the moment is the future after the crisis. What are your opinions on that?
You see, the future is today. Like, it's all the way, to me, it's whatever we embrace today and the set of mind and the attitude that we place today. Like, guys, I see the future in you. You are the student. You are the next generation of aviation professional. So everything that we're doing today, you will carry on those changes. And I think I'm very excited about the perspective that they're there, because we can actually learn from you, from your resilience, from the way you're entering the industry. Like, you're entering the industry with your dreams, and you're entering the industry with such a great expectation, but you're also very innovative and you're creative. You can still use your imagination. Why, in a certain way, we have worked so many years in the industry, and in a certain way, we're following that category of we are disheartened and we don't really believe anymore that things can be changed, or we wait for someone else to change things for us. Why, you have a great new tools, and you have not just technology, like, which is a big piece in the aviation industry, but you have that emotional kind of connection with what's going on at the moment. You being just new to the industry, or not have entered yet the industry, so you're still connected as a student. And I think that operates to me like the future is today. You need to just continue to do what you've done yesterday. My belief is just that if you believed yesterday in entering this industry and you have choose that, you have made that decision to study aviation management with pilot study, or becoming an air traffic controller, or work in operation. So you should continue just naturally to believe in that, because it's just a course of life. As a human, we're going through different changes, and this is just one of them. So we can't just lose the sense of purpose and our focus and goal. So I think, like, we just need to be very centered in what we're doing today, and also stay connected and continue to believe in what we always did, because this is going to pass. It's just a transitional phase, and it's still a learning curve. So just stay kind of focused on today, on a daily basis. And it's impossible to predict what's going to happen. Nobody knows. People just assume things from different perspectives, socially, economical, financial. But the reality is, we only have this particular moment today, and we just need to continue to do what is our best to look after ourselves and people around us. And that will allow alone to create the future in the aviation industry.
Perfect. Thanks a million for that, Val. And finally, we've had a lot of students reaching out to us and asking how can they get through this. Like, most students are overwhelmed at the moment with the college work or the transition from sit-down exams to online exams. So have you any advice that you could give students in particular, but everybody else in the industry as well, on how to maintain good well-being during this crisis?
Yeah, you see, I give that advice to myself every day. I wouldn't be able to advise anybody. Everybody needs to take responsibility for what they really need and what they want in their life. When you join the industry particularly, I think you have a different focus. This is not an industry like anybody else. This is a lifestyle. So your lifestyle starts from today when you're just a student to understand what does it take to get into the industry. So my principles are all about sport science, fitness and well-being. Of course, I'm a sport person. I train consistently, and it's very hard to do it now because the gyms are closed, but we have outdoor there. We can use the public facility, respecting obviously the government restriction, but I think we can still train our body, go out for our walk, and it's really important to connect with people and to tell people how you feel. But mostly there is a science in there, which is a sport science. And I think, and I believe that what sport taught me personally is just to remain really focused on and stay kind of really focused within myself and within my own values and principle. Because I think what sport teaches is that it's resilience, it's commitment, it's continuity, and this is what we need to think about. If you think that way as a sport person, you definitely bring that into your daily life and into your work life, and this is essential for people that will join the industry. So I'm saying, yes, do your study, but yes, also take time to talk to people and to do physical exercise. And it doesn't have to be a huge amount of exercise. It doesn't have to be a huge kind of weightlifting session, but it can only be a walk with some music and go out and just reconnect with yourself and just do some physical movement. That's really, really important. Let's not forget that we will come back to the industry, and you need to be ready to move forward with a very, very busy industry. It'll return to be extremely busy very quickly. So we need to be prepared for them. For you students, like, you're part of this. You are a fundamental part of everything that's happening to the industry. So you need to be prepared for this change and to reoccur many, many times again in the future. So just exercise now about that, and make sure you stay in touch with us and you stay in touch with your friend, with your colleagues, and keep focusing on the reason why you've chosen to join the aviation industry.
Perfect. That's great, Val. Thanks a million for joining us today for our first interview. We would like to, all of us at IASA would like to relay your message and how important it is to maintain a good well-being, mental and physically. We'd also like to acknowledge the partnership between IASA and EAWC, and EAWC has received great support from the industry in recent times, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And from all of us at IASA, we'd like to, we hope that all our committee members, our sponsors and our stakeholders are keeping well during this time. And if you join us next week for our next interview.